Britain's King Charles and Queen Camilla are going ahead with their state visit to the U.S. today following the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Buckingham Palace says, quote, discussions on both sides of the Atlantic. After those discussions, the 4-day royal visit will proceed as planned. CBS News senior foreign correspondent Holly Williams has more from London.
King Charles has no power to decide British government policy, but the pomp and circumstance of the royals is a powerful diplomatic tool with world leaders who seem to enjoy it, like President Trump. In Washington, plans are going ahead for a state banquet, and the king will address a joint session of Congress.
I said, why don't you send some ships over? And he really didn't want to do it.
The King's visit could help reset the UK's relationship with President Trump, who recently criticised the British Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, for his reluctant response to the Iran war. Trump also caused offence here by dismissing British aircraft carriers as toys. We spent time on one of them just last year.
So much of it is what you don't say.
Julian Payne was a communications advisor to Charles before he became king.
These visits are at their most useful when the political day-to-day is a bit tense.
There are also risks for the king in the US that have nothing to do with security. Some American lawmakers are demanding that his brother, formerly known as Prince Andrew, testifies before Congress about his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. That could cause embarrassment. Holly Williams, CBS News, London.
For more on the King's visit, we are now joined by CBS News royal contributor Roya Nikkhah. She is the royal editor at Britain's Sunday Times newspaper. Roya, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure to be with you.
So Buckingham Palace says the King's trip, as we just discussed, will go ahead as planned. But are you hearing concerns about security within royal circles?
Look, I mean, there's no doubt that security was very urgently and very closely reviewed yesterday after this incident. But what Buckingham Palace have said to us is there were conversations on both sides of the Atlantic in the hours after the incident. And in light of what happened and looking at all the huge security that was already in place for this visit, and I have to say, security for this trip has been long in the planning and is vast. We're going to see, we probably won't even notice what the palace has described as minor operational adjustments to the programme. So the schedule as it was already billed will go ahead. Almost all the engagements will go ahead as normal. There will be a few tweaks here and there, possibly with one of the meet and greets, one of the public engagements in Virginia. But I think in terms of any particular concerns, I think the very fact that they are within, the Charles and Camilla will be within the presidential security bubble it's being very carefully, closely managed, but I don't think there's any real concern beyond what was already planned for. And I don't think we should see too much of a difference to the programme.
So, as you know, Roya, there's been some recent friction between Washington and London over, for example, the war in Iran, and understanding that the King's role in British society. Can the King help mend ties in this special relationship that we have?
Well, it's interesting, the phrase special relationship, it's banned at the British Embassy here. It's never used. Apparently, it infers some sort of neediness on both sides. So Sir Christian Turner, our ambassador, was telling us last night. Look, there is so much focus on the friction between Downing Street and the White House. There's no doubt, there's no getting away from the fact that that relationship, special, long-standing, whatever you want to describe it as, is pretty broken at the moment. There has been a war of words, mostly coming from your president to our prime minister, from the White House. Missiles fired over Iraq, over immigration policy. We had a speculation in a leaked briefing document over the UK's sovereignty over the Falkland Islands. Things aren't great. Your president clearly looks at our royal family as something completely different, as removed from the special relationship, a sort of different part of it. And he's very fond of the king, as you know. He talks about him as his great friend. I think there's no doubt that this is a well-timed visit. And I think the hope will be from our government that the relationship will be boosted by the first state visit of President Donald Trump's reign, first inward state visit. That's being seen as a high honour by the king, and I think also shows just how much affection the president places on our king.
Well, we need affection right now between the two countries. Thank you so much, Roya Nikkhah. We appreciate you.